Can everyone hear me? All right. So, may your Yuletide be merry. You guys know that there's a common theme among the songs that we're hearing today about Yuletide. So, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a better understanding what Yuletide is. And also, we're going to discover who's Saint Nick and what is some of the origins of Christmas having to do with Saint Nick. Yule, also called Yule, is celebrated on the winter solstice. And so in one of the songs we just heard, I'm going to tell you tales of ghost stories, or I'm going to tell you ghost stories and tales of glory. Christmas is long, long ago. Well, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you a couple of those ghost stories because that is some of the origins of what Santa is today. So let's start with a Yule log. A Yule log was kept burning as long as possible. People would go out to get the largest tree that they could possibly carry in and burn it for days. And actually they hoped to get a tree that they could burn for 12 days as they would gather close around the Yule fire. They also burned it to ward off evil spirits during the winter season. And that is because not many people survived winter very well before electricity. The Christmas tree is symbolic of evergreen nature. Through the harshest of winters, there was always the evergreen trees that would survive. And so people would bring that in to remind them that there was life beyond the cold, harsh winters. Eventually, they were decorated with decorations including apples, nuts, pretzels, and paper flowers were the original decorations on the Christmas tree. And they were lit with candles. But lighting a tree in your house with candles, we learned is not a good idea. And so thank goodness for electricity eventually. We had a better lighting system. All right, so when we talk about Santa, the oldest Santa that I can find is Odin, aka Hulian, Ulea, Lord of the Festival, the All-Father that passed through the sky on his 8-legged horse. Wow. 8 reindeers, 8-legged horse. So he would either reward or punish people during the time of winter. And so this happened on the solstice. Odin would fly into the sky, and this was celebrated for a long, long time. Often associated with Odin, or always related to Odin, is the tomten, or niece. This is known as a house spirit, and today it's translated into the Christmas elf. So slight mischievous, and people would give porridge as an offering for the tomten to hope that it wouldn't be as mischievous as it could be when it came to visit. Now the Yule goat predated the niece and is known as the gift giver. There's controversy if the original Santa is actually a goat giving gifts. And stories of this goat giving gifts. So I went to Hobby Lobby and I found a whole bunch of goats are now popular today. All right? So making a comeback. So Celtic tradition and Druid tradition are the oak and holly king. The oak rules over midwinter to midsummer, and the holly king rules from midsummer to midwinter, so both solstices, they kind of trade off, and they have a battle during each solstice to take over the season. And Santa is sometimes seen wearing the sprig of holly, just like the holly king, and mistletoe is found in oak trees. So the oak king would be decorated in mistletoe, and then we have the holly king. Die Morts. So this is the Santa of Russia, and he is often seen with his daughter, the Snow Maiden. He was originally considered a wizard of winter and was known to be evil until Christianity took over, and then he became more of the Santa that we know today in Russia. The Snow Maiden was just as evil as he is until she met a man who warmed her heart. So Does that sound familiar in Christmas tales that we know today? The warming of the heart and turning from evil to good, right? So then we have Saturnalia. This was a Roman holiday, carnival or festival. This was a huge celebration of the season. Masters and servants would enjoy equality. Gambling, which was otherwise illegal, was allowed. Comedy and other performances would happen through the 12 days of celebration of Saturnalia. And often the masters would serve their servants. So there would be role reversal, and people would dress in equal clothing as well. Okay, so St. Nicolaus Day is celebrated in Germany on December 5th. So we're 4 days away from St. Nicolaus Day in Germany. And their Santa is St. Nicolaus, celebrated on December 5th. And in different parts of Germany, often seen accompanying Krampus, Nacht Ruprecht, Schwarzer Peter, and Mutter Halle, gave a gift of dowry to a less fortunate man originally, who had 3 daughters and could not afford the dowry. And so he would drop the dowry down the fireplace, and it ended up landing in the stockings that were hanging to dry. And so that's where our stockings come from. And then when people heard of the tales of St. Nicolaus, they would start praying to him when they were in a time of need, hoping that he would come with gifts to save them. So, Germany's pretty interesting with their tales, and this is where the ghost stories come from. We see that St. Nicolaus is accompanied by many people. One is this Nacht Ruprecht. He wears a black or brown robe with a hood and often has small bells on his waist and to announce his arrival. His face is dirty with soot, and he collects while he goes down the chimney. Some say he carries a bag of coal and walks around with a long staff. All sounds familiar. He's said to travel with St. Nicolaus and often quizzing children for them to know their Bible verses. He'll reward them with apples, gingerbread, and other sweets. But if they're not good, he gives them lumps of coal. He switches them with sticks. Smacks them with sticks. Worse, he can take them away and throw them in a nice river. This is still celebrated in Germany. So, that's the nice version. This is Krampus. I thought that he was the scariest of Christmas characters until I started deleting slides from this speech. Yeah. Okay, he originates from Alpine Germany. Most of the images show him holding a bag with birch sticks. And he's meant for the bad children, and he accompanies Santa Claus, who will be given a switch if they're bad and carried off into the underworld with Krampus. So Krampus is making a huge move into the US. I actually found a festival in Orlando, December 8th. There's going to be Krampuses running all around. So, yeah, get ready. Get ready. All right. So then we have Belschnickel. So Belschnickel originates from the Palatine region of Germany. He is celebrated today in Pennsylvania Dutch. This is their version of Santa Claus, Belschnickel. He dresses in furs, and he's dirty, and he wears torn clothing. And he carries a switch like Nacht Ruprecht or Krampus, but his pockets are full of sweets for children. So oftentimes, he's alone. He's the Santa and the bad guy, the good and the evil combined. However, in Austria, you might see him with Krampus. So we have a couple female Santas as well. This is Frau Holl. It's Germanic and Norse in tradition. Old Mother Frost, Budofrau, Birchil, Busbert, Bersta, Budomoder, Odin's wife Frigg, and the Corn Woman. I speak German, so I sound funny. And she flies out on the night of January 5th to put treats in stockings of children. So those characters that I just named, that I'm not going to go through again, some of of them are much scarier than just her. So, like I said, I deleted some slides, and we'll keep it at that. We have another version of her that has been celebrated for a long time, Befana. And this actually goes back 2,000 years as an Italian tradition. This predates any celebration of Santa coming to bring gifts. So in Italy, she has been more popular than Santa, and there's kind of a battle there right now for Christmas and then Epiphany. So she comes out the night before Epiphany and brings gifts. In Italy, Santa's called Babbo Natale. So something interesting, I started studying this because I understood that I was from an Italian background and from a German background. And so I started studying the origins and history of Christmas in the different parts of the world and expanded upon that. So, whoop, sorry. I hit that button pretty fast. Okay, Santa today. Santa Claus, Kris Kringle, St. Nicholas has very European roots in traditional folklore. Babbo Natale in Italy. I cannot say the one in France, Père Noël, maybe. Father Christmas in England. Houlanese, so that would be from the Tom 10 tradition in Scandinavia. Sinterklaas in the Netherlands, as well as Santa Claus, are all recognized versions of Santa. So, where do you guys think the Grinch originated from? So most of those villainous characters come from Germany, and so was our original author of The Grinch. And this is kind of the heartwarming, the pieces of all of this history brought together, and we've overcome that negativity during the Christmas time. So Santa today, we celebrate him, and my son asked me a lot lately if Santa's real. And I can tell him yes. If you look everywhere in the world, there's a tradition for Santa Claus. And we celebrate Santa together. And so we keep the spirit of Santa alive through the Christmas season by giving gifts, spreading love, spreading cheer. And in some parts of the world, it's not as celebrated happily. So we will keep that rolling with celebrating all of the gift giving in nature. And I took everything that I had learned and I put it in a book. And I wrote this children's book. And I spun a tale with my sister-in-law, who many of you guys have met, the Winterlings, Amanda. And I'm going to read the book to you. On the longest night, joy filled the room. It was jolly with music and the light of the moon. The table was set with piles of sweets, cookies, and candies were some of the treats. Kris Kringle was feasting before his flight with a company of elves on this solstice night. Bam! Kringle's chair fell to the ground. The doctor estimated that the elves The doctor came quick as the elves gathered round. The doctor declared sugar was the reason, and that Kringle could not eat more cookies this season. Cookies would soon be made by all girls and boys for Kringle to eat when he delivers their toys. The hearts of the elves filled with worry and gloom when the only girl, Vara, cried, "I know what to do! Old Krampus, do you know him? He's big and quite scary. He is tall and has hooves and big horns and he's hairy. He has counted on Kringle and is sick from sugar. He wants his belly to keep growing bigger. It is Krampus who tries to make Christmas tragic. both tasty and healthy. But to get at those sticks, we will have to be stealthy. If we can take his birch sticks away, stuck in his lair, he'll be forced to stay. Vara's brother, Evander, cried, "We must act fast, or the Christmas we love will be a thing of the past." Another elf, Kingston, shouted, "I will help you." And his brother, Kailani, said, "I will help too." Now the elves have a friendship about which you know. They care for and travel with each their own goat. And with magical cloaks they hide in plain sight, so invisible they rode their goats into the night. When the elves arrived at Krampus's lair, his frightful singing filled the air. Crick, crick, croak. Krampus holds a secret sweet. He uses it to children feed. Crick, crick, croak. Krampus flies into a rage, locks naughty children in a cage. Hidden from sight, the elves looked for the sticks. When they saw two big cages filled up with kids, right past Krampus, brave Vara led the three, and her brother Evander set the children free. Then Kailani and Kingston grabbed Krampus's leg and jumped around till he fell right in the cage. Safe from old Krampus, the elves kept up their search, and quickly they gathered up all of the birch. When they made it outside with the birch sacks, they formed it too heavy to take on their backs. They found it too heavy to take home on their backs. How would they get it all to the North Pole? And how would they get the children back home? "Befana!" cried Vara, the 12th night's good witch. She flies in on her broomstick. If we call on her, maybe she'll give us a ride, or at least take the birch to the North Pole in time. "Help us, Befana!" Vara shouted. "Help us, help us, help us all!" And with that, Befana flew in on her broom, but with all the birch loaded, she had no more room. "Dear children, I'm sorry, I can't take you home, but the elves should be able on the back of their goats. Here are some gifts. You stay there, as you will likely be riding into a snowstorm." The kids bundled up in the blankets and hats and saddled up 3 upon each of the goats' backs. And they all thanked Befana and then held on tight as the elves brought them home through the cold, snowy night. Befana then flew straight to the North Pole, just in time to get production under control. Birch was transformed into sweetener fast. The piles and piles and piles were vast. On the eve of the eve, Befana flew out again, leaving bags of birch sweetener on every doorstep. And on Christmas Eve, children everywhere made birch-sweetened cookies with love and with care. Avoiding sugar helped Kringle heal up just in time. The elves packed the sleigh and in Kringle climbed. Thoughts of cookies filled them with delight as he set off with the reindeer into the night. And all of the children were safe, tucked into their beds, with no worries of Krampus filling their heads. Chocolate, candy, cookies. Kringle enjoys his sweets again. No more worries, thanks to friends. Chocolate,